Good evening, Stoneworks, and welcome to an interview with RageOFire, of all people. That's going to be interesting. You are, of course, listening to WCPR, Concordia Public Radio. I am, of course, your host, Tim Desmond. This broadcast is sponsored by the Eldom Stock Exchange. If you're looking for a quick way to make some money, how about investigating into some of your favorite businesses? Join the Discord server in the description of this video to check it out. So, Rage, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I do not know.
What's going on? What's wrong?
That's just a thing I say. But so you are, if I am correct, the Minister of Foreign Affairs within the AWE.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Why don't you tell everyone about how you got started on Stoneworks? Just your early days, move up to your time within the AWE. Just give us a general overview of the life of RageOFire in Stoneworks. I don't care about your personal life.
In terms of Stoneworks, I joined about 2.5 years ago. I started on Rathnir right before Eldom got released. I joined a small island called Freeport, which they had there because they posted an announcement saying they were having elections soon, and I wanted a quick rise to power, basically. So I joined the nation with the intention of becoming basically someone within their military of some sorts, and then basically figuring out a way to just take over the country from there. And that didn't happen, thankfully, since the country the country realized that Eldom was much more beneficial. They could move there and they could have a lot more freedom when it came to like where they build their stuff and how much land they would own, and that kind of turned into the nation of Oceanham over time. After we moved to Eldom from Rathnir, I went mining for a bit. I kind of walked around. I kind of just became a hermit in my own like little castle because on the first day someone tried to kill me. So I waited about 2.5 weeks before I ever contacted anyone about where I lived. That led to some border disputes between Oceanham and a few other countries. Eventually, I made my own like vassal state, and I rebelled against Oceanham. Then we had a battle with Oceanham, and I took the city of Valrusia over. After that, I fled to a nation called Caladinia, which is just across the ocean, across the sea from where I lived originally. I used to live in the area, I think, commonly known as Rycoria nowadays, although it's not claimed at the moment. But I made a town over there, which ended up, I guess, becoming the new headquarters of Paragon more recently, but now they're gone. So, yeah, and then I helped the Commonwealth of Caladinia for ages. We became elected leader of Oceanham over my first few months, and then king of a country called Foenia, and also leader of the Commonwealth of Caladinia. After that, we got a bunch more political positions. We formed Othmere. Othmere collapsed. Then I moved to the AWE about 1.5 years ago. From that point, I kind of sat around basically as a war criminal, hiding away for about like 4 months. Then kind of became more active in the Senate and then in foreign affairs after a while. Eventually moving up the ranks and becoming shadow foreign affairs minister, and then de facto foreign affairs minister after a while. And then more recently, we launched our nice little Wars of Conquest over at Letshire and all the others, and the rest is kind of history after that point.
I see.
I think that was a pretty thorough.
So when you say shadow Minister of Foreign Affairs, what do you mean? Like, were you just like did you just have like a high position and you were the one who was pretty much in charge, like everyone listened to you and not the actual Minister of Foreign Affairs, or was it some other system?
There weren't enough people in the government to run every position, so a lot of the jobs were given to the emperors or the children of the emperors. Obviously, the children of the emperors can't give their positions away without a good reason. and I was too new in the AWE to actually receive a formal role. So I just kind of took over the management of that area and basically did what I wanted to do, but with the oversight of one of the heirs, my friend Mr. Pizza. He kind of like looked over what I did and gave me the thumbs up or the thumbs down based on what we did. It allowed me to do a lot more subversive action over the first few months. So things like um, asking people to go and make claims in other people's countries or sending rebels to other nations. That was all done by me over time. Same thing with Othmir, really. Like a lot of the countries you'll see, or I'll mention here, it was more of a case of I would run the thing, but I would run the thing from behind the scenes to make sure that that way the actions that I maybe made weren't directly pointed at me. It was more general, more broad. But yeah, so as like it was basically just Mr. Pizza was the head of foreign affairs, but the real head of foreign affairs was doing a lot more than people knew at the time. Smile emoji. Yeah.
So why don't you, I guess, describe your job as Minister of Foreign Affairs?
My job is to, well, it was to ensure the security and survival of the AWE originally. The position I inherited came at a time of a lot of national fear over other nations, countries like Atlechia, countries like Velerin, and all the other like weird pseudo nobility states that kind of existed around us. They were kind of seen as the major threat. A lot of people with a lot of money always tend to scare others into submission, whereas we don't tend to like gel with that sort of mentality. If you have a lot of money, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a position to win wars. So we pushed for the idea of unequal treaties. So we have a thing you'll see a lot nowadays. It's a hybrid MDP where your side, if you're the weaker partner in the agreement, you'll agree to do a lot more for the major partner than the major partner will do for you. So say Concordia wants to sign one with Sondor. Since Sondor is bigger, Sondor would ask for they'll defend you, but you have to show up to every war that Sondor go to, regardless of whether it's defensive or not. And that's the bargain you make when you do a deal with a bigger power. You'll see that a lot with the Shy as well. They stole my concept, but oh well.
Oh well.
Yeah.
So would you say that you have? I ask everyone this question. Would you say that you have like a proudest moment, your greatest, just the thing that you have done that you are most proud of in your time in the AWE?
Our wars are mainly run by me. I did a lot of them. I mean, I'm not great at internal stuff. That's why I don't kind of do that stuff very often. I'm very good with words. If you look at a lot of the ENATs made by countries in the past, you'll most likely not know they were written by me, but they were written by me. If you look at some of my proudest ones were actually the ones I wrote for Francis against Araka, where we absolutely scolded them completely, like turned the tables on them diplomatically, realistically. But more recently, I guess like the wars in Azenfjord were kind of fun. That was like the biggest coup in terms of like fighting against another nation and then losing the battles but actually winning. Same thing happened in Sulir. I guess that's kind of proud as well, because it ended up us making some nice friends, but I guess they're not friends anymore.
Yeah. So I'm sure there are a lot of people who have like helped you get to where you are now. Do you have any of those folks that come to mind?
Overall, There's a lot of people I can name to say they helped me along the way. A lot of the people who I necessarily care about on the server are gone. A lot of the Parahands who were our most recent group of friends, like Aaron and Leith, a few of the others that may have joined in with them. Prior to that, it would be people like Stateshroom and Crusader, who Stateshroom, Crusader, we were all members of the Commonwealth prior to its dissolution. We all kind of ran that together, and we've held a bond ever since then. People from the AWE, Pizza, Oscar, Hobbs, Cool World, Goomson, Lightspeed, a few others like that.
Hmm.
Rocks, Demon, Geostyle, Emu Blue, other guy, Evie, Worm J, Colonel Cheese, Lucas, I don't know, some other people. And then generally, like, a lot of the mercenaries that supported us as well are pretty notable mentions. Like, yeah.
So I guess I guess at this point, there's not much more to talk about. Is there anything else about yourself that you want to mention?
You went very muffled at the moment. I don't know what you said.
I'm sorry. Is there anything else about yourself that you want to mention before we switch the focus of the interview from you to the current state of the AWE?
Personally, not really. I don't think I'm that cool of a person to talk about, not gonna lie, but I mean, generally, seeing the reaction I get when I go into places is very funny, but I mean, sure. Let's switch the topic now.
Yeah, all right. So the AWE is not in a good position right now. I think at this point it's relatively apparent. I mean, you've lost your capital. Over I think at this point over half of your territory has seceded.
Yeah.
There. How would you say this all started? You go back to like the very beginning, like before even Sarukin seceded. What would you say the inciting incident of this whole thing was?
Yeah, sure. So let's say about a month ago, prior to Sarikhan seceding, we were informed by a third party through screenshots of Francis and the leader of Sondor negotiating what they'd do if they ever had the chance to leave the AWE. We put it into our minds that most likely what's going to happen is that they're going to secede at the first moment of crisis or when someone presents them the best opportunity to do so. We already knew that these sorts of initial joiners in these sorts of agreements, they're never going to last. They always think that there's more power to be gained if they leave. And that is true to a large extent. If you're just a middling employee, obviously, if you make your own company, it's going to put you at the top. But you're at the top of a much smaller pile. You know, you don't necessarily, if you're like, say you're middle management in a large company and you go and make a medium-sized company, you're not getting any taller, are you? Like, you're the same size. Like, but they believed that that was a better relationship for themselves, so they started trying to find out how they could get independence without looking hated by people, and by looking, necessarily like they were in the right for trying to do so.
Well,
in response to that, we pushed a few moves through that allowed us to gain some territories within the regions that we didn't trust. like places like Sarakan, where we knew Francis was obviously attempting to work with people to try and get independence. That's not very fair for us. If we're protecting someone, you don't want them to be scheming behind your back. So you obviously, we went and we did a bunch of squatter tickets against towns in Sarakan and towns in Sondor that were inactive and needed to be rehoused within other people's like ability, you know.
Right.
They went off and I owned a bunch of their claims, at which point Francis attempted to discuss with us how he could put secessionists into those claims and have them own the claims. People like Trorig Camper, who I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's unsafe to deny. I don't think they can deny that Trorig Camper is working with them to any extent. Like it's very obvious of it, um, but yeah, like Trorig Camper and a number of other people were suggested as potential mayors of some of the towns in Sarakan, and it was kind of obvious from that point forward that Francis wasn't working in good faith with us. Same thing for Bastion. When they got elected, they announced that they were going to try and secede, which was like, for one, brain dead announcement. I don't understand why you would announce that at all. Like, you know, there is no like planning, no preparation, no nothing. It was just like, hi guys, thanks for electing me. We're going to try and leave the AWE as soon as possible. It's like, okay, well, we're not going to help you then. Like,
So you knew that this was. No,
yes, I knew it was going to happen.
you guys knew this was going to happen, but so I'm talking about. Obviously, the people in the government had been planning this. You know, I for one was. Yeah, I was not in on the planning. I only joined a week and a half before we actually seceded. But
Yeah.
during that whole process, I did become a counselor in the Sarakan government. But so how? I guess I think you misunderstood my question. I was wondering how the like from your perspective how the Clone War started. I'm pretty sure that's what the official name for it is now. Um, so like what exactly?
What was the spark that caused the disputes? Or
Yes, pretty much. Like obviously Sargon had been unhappy for a good amount of time and decided to secede. What was the? I mean, I know like what it is from our perspective, but I'm curious to see like what happened from your perspective.
so they started off, as said, they were already planning on this sort of secession.
Mhm.
We Once we finished our proxy tickets and our squatter tickets on one of the claims called Earnside, the staff told us for some dumbass reason that the only way that you can own the claim of Earnside is if they delete the claim. They're not allowed to transfer it because it says it in the rule book that they're not allowed to do that. Don't know why it makes any difference whether they transfer it or they delete it and we reclaim it. It just wastes my time, but I
Mhm.
mean, sure. So when we went there with about 4 people, we tried to reclaim the city. And whilst we were reclaiming the city, a few members from the Vulperium, not the Vulperium, Vularia or Vulpinia, don't remember.
It was
One of those Vul nations came along and tried to loot the city whilst we were there. Now, we interpreted that as obviously hostile action. We decided that we'd push them away whilst we reclaimed the city. We did that successfully. Now, then we went to the government of Vulpinia. We messaged them and said, "Yo, why did you loot the city? Why did you raid the claim? Why did you do this?" And they said, "Oh, it wasn't us actually. We got told by Beastly Brock a few weeks prior that he looted the city instead. And so there was nothing there anyway. You don't have to be worried." And we were like, okay, that's fine. Sure. We got screenshots from the guy confirming that Beastly Brock had stated they'd looted the claim. And we got screenshots from them stating where they lived and where their like main towns were and what we needed to target if we wanted to talk to Beastly Brock directly. So we then went to the government at Eros, which is the overlord of Vulpinia. We asked them, for one, why did Vulpinia send people to raid our claim? And we then asked them, why were they working to undermine our authority by looting claims within our nation without our permission? The first one, they told us that they'd punish Vulpinia, which then we declined because they had absolved themselves from any sort of blame. And the second one, they just refused to elaborate. They told us that Bastion had spoken to them in some way and that they and Beastly Brock together had looted the city, which doesn't necessarily change the fact that Beastly Brock looted the city. It just means that one of our mayors did it as well and they were involved. Like, I don't see how that reduces the crime in any way. So we asked them, like, could they provide us any sort of itinerary of what they took, and if they can't provide that within a reasonable amount of time, will they pay us an amount of money to basically square off any sort of assumption or any sort of assumed cost of the looting that may have occurred. Obviously, you don't know how much was taken 3 weeks prior because you can't, like, I'm not going to abuse and use staff logs to go and find out what information was there and what stuff was taken. So I have to make that assumption based on claim looks pretty good, lots of towns, lots of buildings. Let's set the thing at 2 million, see whether they negotiate it down or can provide any evidence to say otherwise. Now, they just kind of blanked us at that point and didn't speak to us for another week and a half. Instead, what they chose to do was ignore us, tell us to go talk to Bastion, and then spoke to both Sarakan and Sandor about how they should rebel against the AWE. Now, whilst that was going on, Ashai decided to leave the Cato Alliance. We were talking in Cato about how we were upset with Eros, and they obviously went to go and speak to them and sign a pact of some sort, making them able to defend them. And at that point, since we hadn't had any contact from Eros for about a week and a half, and they just made a bunch of our claims rebel, we started to declare war on their towns. I think that timeline might not be exact. The rebellions might have occurred after we got the first war ticket on them, but
I believe the rebellions occurred beforehand.
Yeah, so...
If I recall correctly.
Yeah, let's go with that then. So the rebellions happened at some point, either right before or right after the first war ticket was opened. Now,
the rebellions were September 22nd.
War ticket was... I don't know because I'm not in it anymore.
Oh.
I don't know. Let's say it was on the same day. It was either before or after, very close to it. The point behind opening war tickets on enemy claims, we learned this in Atlechia. If you have a large claim and you can't defend it, you're more likely to negotiate. Now, the whole point is that we're supposed to war their claim. They're supposed to then talk to us and go, yo, you're not supposed to deck claims without, like, any reason. And we go, oh, well, let's find out how we can solve this. Let's make a deal for Ern's side, like, get it some reparations, and we'll go away. You guys apologize, and Nina, that's us done and done. But because of these rebellions, and why would we close a war that was going on? They've just made 40% of the country rebel. So we continue the war. We fight a battle in Presede. They have 400 people in their war discord. We have barely 100. And we fight that battle. It's a draw. And then they subsequently, like, Ashai take over the war ticket. We get upset with Ashai because we told them this was going to happen in the first place, and now they're prolonging a war. And so we go and make claims in Ashai to get them to stop fighting us. And in response, they attack our capital city. That kind of wraps up how that whole process works. But
I the capital city attack was the attack on Stegenberg was planned before the Battle of Winterrose. I guess the Battle of Proceed. I'm not sure what we're calling it.
I don't know, but
because
yeah,
in the attack on Stegenberg was, is it Stegenberg or Steigen? I'm pretty sure it's Stegenberg.
Steigen, but it doesn't matter now. It's called like PP Poo Poo Village or some shit like that. I don't know.
But yeah, that had been planned in advance.
So
from almost the beginning, I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
So the AWE, I believe, if I don't think there's a map out yet, but if Eldon announcements or anything to go by, it's not looking good for you guys. Do you, at this point, the maps show there are maps? Very Hungry just sent me a thing, but I'll take a look at that in a bit. But so the AWE is not looking good territory wise. Would you say that they have any chance of survival at this point?
No, I think most of us are quitting the server.
Just fully quitting the server?
Yeah. To be honest, like the past week and a half have been the worst time on Stonewix I've ever had, and I've played for 2.5 years. Like I think I've said this like in global chat and now in e-discussion earlier today. I woke up for the past week and a half, ever since that first Arrows ticket got opened. I woke up, people were shitting on me in my DMs. I'd block them. I'd go into ENAT. There was ENATs about how they hated the AWE. I'd ignore them. I'd go into Eldom discussion. People are saying about how the AWE should just stop existing. I'd then log on. People would hate on me in global and tell me the AWE was terrible. And I'd do /GL mute to mute that out. And then I'd go to like do my job or do whatever I wanted to do on the day. And people would shit on me via /message to the point where I'd /message toggle so that people couldn't message me anymore. Like, you know, and after like 10, 15 days of doing that over and over again, I don't really think that I should continue playing at all. The same with most of our other people. Like what's going to happen now realistically? Say, let's point to a random example. One of the High Council of the AWE. If they declared independence, like what's going to happen is either A, Ashai's going to war deck their claim. B, Eros will war deck their claim. C, Sarikhan will war deck their claim. Or D, some rando shitter who's made an ENAP previously will war deck their claim. And everyone who's fought against us in the past will just fight against us now. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter who you have as a friend, doesn't matter where you are in the country, your claim is going to get decked if you declare independence, and your claim is going to get decked if you stay in the nation. So at this point, no one really gives a shit. We tried declaring war on Ashai directly. We tried opening tickets against them. The staff team told us that we're not allowed to fight against Ashai because they were already attacking us, and that's not allowed. Now, that argument might fly for a player who hasn't been in at least 35 war tickets in the past few months. So, you know, that might have worked for anyone else, but obviously reading the rules and knowing how wars work in and out, I know that that's bullshit. You're allowed to deck whatever you want, whenever you want. For case in point, we have 2 war tickets open against Eros, and like no one batted an eye at that. But Ashai have 1 war ticket against us, and we're not allowed to attack them directly at all. Like,
I see.
So then, I mean, the other like nail in the coffin is just like the amount of people that we helped previously, the amount of people that are like shitting on us constantly in every channel of communication, be it any of our DMs, any messages we receive, like there's no like, oh, good luck in the war. Like, I don't know if you see it, but whenever I die in a war, I get like 30 announcements about how I'm shit. There's people like photoshopping messages that I've never even sent into, like, and then putting them into fucking ENAT like it's like some big reason people should fight against me. You know, I just don't enjoy this anymore. It's not like
Yeah.
it's worse than anything I've ever done or received on this fucking server, and there's no point in playing anymore. Like,
Yeah, it is. It
I'm
is.
sorry.
It is. Yeah. No. I totally get it. It's really. It is really unfortunate. I think.
You guys won. It's not like it's not
Yeah.
something to be upset about. To be fair, like Sarikhan, sure, you guys have like some sort of unity together. I'm sure that will last for a few months or so, but it's not like not the end of the world if one guy leaves. You know,
Yeah.
more the case that like we thought we had a better system than most others,
Yeah.
like the incentives we could provide via basically just IRL currency, massive amounts of in-game funds, the promises of like rewards for building or recruiting. We thought that might have kept people more loyal. Even like the towns that we actually formally gave out to people have declared independence, and at that point, like, why would
Yeah.
we keep trying anymore? There's no point, you know. I could sit here and deck like every claim that's ever wronged us, but at this point there's about 30 of them, and I don't really want to waste my time doing it one at a time.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so I'm just done. I'm going. Like and you guys saying don't quit, like, why would I stay? Ha! There's nothing left. It's all gone. You not see it? Like, you guys caused this stuff. Like, it's not like I sat here and like was evil to Concordia, or I stopped Paunas from owning shit because like Paunas, I gave you your town. Like, you owned Casino as a result of my action to give you the town. Like, fucking, I don't know what we did to Concordia. Like,
I don't.
and the same with Hyperion. Like, Francis complained that like we didn't do something for him. I don't remember exactly what we did. Like, he was just kind of telling us we did stuff that was evil. But like, as said, we've known that he was trying to rebel for at least a month or so. So why would you give something to someone who's gonna rebel? Like, it's like the guy's like putting on the boxing gloves and you're like giving him a pat down ready to fucking fight. Like, why would I do that? You know?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I just keep the claim and then like he can war it if he wants? Like, and that mentality then, like, I'm rebelling because you won't give me the claim, because I'm gonna rebel if I do it.
And I'll be honest. The something I found interesting. You personally became the sort of server villain, and I never really understood that. Like, yes, you were the Minister of Foreign Affairs. You are the diplomacy guy. You're the one who interacts with everyone. But it when you look at it, nobody's problems were with you as a whole. They were with nobody's problems were with you or your actions specifically. They were with the AWE's actions as a whole. Now, I'm personally not a fan of the AWE's of a lot of the AWE's practices. I think they did a lot of expansion, a lot of really quick expansion. I don't think that was ever going to work. I think they started wars that they didn't necessarily need to, but that wasn't just you. That was the AWE as a whole. That was the entire government, but I think everyone kind of ganging up on you was a little bit much. And I'm not really.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like anyone else was doing stuff that could have been perceived as terrible. Like, I mean, you know, can you tell me one thing I did wrong? Like, did any of us do anything wrong? I don't know what we did, like, that caused this sort of like uproar in the East. Like, people just strive to have their own sort of like independent communities, and the fact that like they complain to some extent that we didn't talk to them, but at the same time, like, the first thing they did when they got any sort of like sanction was to create their own Discord. Like, a lot of the towns, like the mayors, during the first month or so of like them being in the AWE, we spent like ages trying to talk to them to get them to join the nation claim. Like, and they were reluctant to do that. Same thing, like, look at Hagasaki, like the first, like, during the entire Leccio where we asked them to unclaim certain chunks, we gave them a map and everything of what to unclaim. And as soon as like they don't do it, and as soon as this rebellion happens, they unclaim all the chunks to our exact specifications because they know that we knew what we were doing in the first place. Like, so that it wasn't like some sort of thing that we did. It's just natural for people on this server to want their own freedom for some reason. It doesn't matter what, like, you could promise them literally, like, we literally promised mayors IRL money for recruitment, for staying in the AWE, for just existing generally. Like, and people have chosen independence over that. Like, I don't know how it's like possible, you know? Like, you can't get a better deal. Francis is not going to offer you real money to do stuff in the block game. Like, so there's physically no better deal you could get, you know? If you wanted like some sort of like benefit, I don't know what else it could be. You want like a car? Like, I I don't know. At this point, like, it doesn't matter though, because like everyone made their choice, and you know, we just have to live with that.
Yeah. I think a lot of the Sarkhan government's problem with the AWE was how now this was not you. This was not you. This was specifically, of all people, Mr. Pizza.
Yeah,
a couple people have told me that Mr. Pizza was just
he's not nice.
Just kind of
that's the point. Like, the people who Mr. Pizza doesn't like are the people that don't do things. So, you know, the people that don't follow the rules, don't do their basic like recruitment, or don't provide things to the country, those are the people that get shit on when Mr. Pizza talks to them. If you're like causing problems, you also get told to like shut up and sit down and do what you're told. Like, but generally, like, any of the like people who stay and just, you know, do good things don't necessarily meet that sort of like, you know, it's more of a like if you're upset Mr. Pizza is telling you off, you know, it's like being upset that your boss is telling you off. Like, you don't make, like, you know, maybe your boss has a point, maybe you should listen to your boss a bit more. Like,
so from what I was told, it wasn't necessarily Mr. Pizza telling them off. It was Mr. Pizza calling them second class citizens of the AWE. That was something that he used a couple times, specifically with Francis. And I think, I mean, I'd be insulted, you know, even if I like at that point, I would just, I don't know, I wouldn't want to stay with the AWE after
you know
that.
where
If I were working somewhere and my boss called me a second class worker, or like someone deserving of like of pay than
Do you know
like
where he said this? I can probably find it if you want.
I
Was it in the
don't
AW Discord or in Francis's
don't
messages, or do you have an image of it or anything? Or
I believe it was Francis's DMs, if I remember correctly. I'll have to talk to Francis about this at some point, but yeah. But I think everyone in the I think the reason for the Eastern revolts I think was two things. One, what you said, people wanted their own independence, and two, I think people were just generally unhappy with the AWE's government structure. I mean, I from what I could tell how it works, and I was not part of the AWE government ever. It was a little weird. I don't think it was the most efficient system. I think a lot of the people in it were kind of weird. I like. I'm not calling any of them bad people. I am calling some of them bad leaders.
yeah,
And there are people like that everywhere. You know, I I like everyone in the Saracon government. I think they're all very nice people, but I think some people have some weird policies. I'm not going to go naming names here because I don't want to make any enemies, but
I mean, you're always going to find in governments places where there are ways to improve, people that aren't necessarily up to task or doing stuff. But I mean, realistically, I just don't see why. Maybe if there was more context to what Mr. Pizza said and why they said it, maybe we can see a reason. But unless there's like some sort of
yeah.
evidence we have on it, then I can't really comment on why Mr. Pizza may have said something like that.
Well, if I do find it, I will send it to you, I guess.
Yeah. My only assumption is just that Francis was being a shitter after he announced he was rebelling, and so
Well, that was
obviously
before the that was
we call him
before the
shit.
rebellion. That's one of the reasons he rebelled.
Yeah, no, but like you can justify your reasons after you make up your mind. Like that's how most things go, isn't it? Like most people have an opinion and then they rationalize that opinion based upon things that happen that fit in line with that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. The
Like you have it's like science, isn't it? You have a theory, you test that theory. If the evidence you have sort of lines up with that, then maybe the theory is correct and you make that fact. Like
yeah, it
I
is.
don't know how science works. But yeah, um, that's just how things go in these sorts of like environments. People believe you don't like them. I think it's the Pygmalion effect, isn't it? Where you have an opinion, you do something that provokes a response. If that response is in line with what you believed, you do the thing again, but the cycle repeats over and over again. So you reinforce your own belief over and over again. That's like, I think so. Let me
I
find
think a
it.
lot of it was just misunderstanding. I think the AWE didn't understand Saracon's side, and I don't think that Saracon understood the AWE side, and I think that was through just general. I mean, that's how every problem happens. People all have their own motivations, and to them those motivations make sense, and to other people they don't necessarily make sense, and people disagree on shit, and stuff happens. And in this case, it was one of the largest world wars Eldon's ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think that's a result of like I don't think that anything had to happen with Sarikhan or Sondor. I think Sondor was being a bit more opportunistic. A lot of the Sarikhan people maybe were misled in some way, but generally, um, I think that it's gonna be pretty shit for most of the people that have left. You probably not the first group. The people that left will be kind of unwilling to drop their opinion that the AW is terrible, but generally you'll look back and in a few months' time you'll probably think that this was a lot better of a time than, well, prior to the war it was a lot better of a time than post-war. Also, you have like massive amounts of like people that live in your country now that you have to deal with that maybe aren't very supportive of Sarikhan as an existing nation. So, I mean, like the country's not even going to look how it used to look under the Southern Stars. It's going to look worse. But we'll see.
I've seen the map plan. I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna look okay.
You're going to have a massive cut in the middle of your country. You're not looking at the right map. Like,
we are in the process of getting everything organized, but it is a pain in the ass. There are a few people that aren't really.
Physically, Batu, it's cut in half from the claims that the ex-AW loyalists own. Kimura is owned by an AW loyalist who will most likely be independent as a result. I don't know what's happening with Valrusia. Maybe Robert rejoins Sarikhan. I'd assume that's pretty likely. I don't know what's going to happen with Kithnos. I'd assume they're going to join.
Rejoining us.
And there's also Altera, who's most likely going to just be independent now as a result.
Yeah, the big thing here, a lot of this is not something that you were necessarily privy to until I guess just now. A lot of the city's plans were to wait until the AWE either surrendered or collapsed forcibly, and have decided to join after that, like the AWE's on, or until the war is over, because they do not want to risk their own towns, which I fully understand. I think that's a decent idea.
Making a decision doesn't mean your town is at risk. You put yourself on a list not to be included in the next government if you put yourself as neutral. If you put yourself as on either side, you make the risk of, if your town's important, like Concordia, Hyperion.
Well, Sarikhan,
Bastion's town, or Hagasaki, they were basically the four important targets of that entire region.
Yeah, I mean, Kythnos is there are a lot of people from Kythnos that are in the government. The Senate has 2 people from Kythnos out of 5. So
I foresee the next problem will most likely be Hyperion trying to put its influence over both talking Concordia and Kithnos, and both of those groups not liking it enough and voting their own people in, and then Francis gets mad. That's my speculation anyway. Sondor, Sondor, I don't foresee any sort of major issues. They might try and take Eldia back, although don't know how that will go. We'll just have to see. Other than that, there's not really many things that Sarikhan can do in the south. Like, but yeah,
I guess Sarikhan. I think over. It's going to take a bit of time, but we will unite. So I guess I have another question for you. Have you considered formally surrendering? Maybe with the chance to keep the territory that you have left. Just saying, fuck it. We're not gonna like to protect what you guys still have at this point.
Why would we stay?
I don't know.
There's nothing like the big nation that I spent a year and a half trying to form, like was formed, existed, and then got killed by all the people inside of it. Like everyone internationally hates me. No one like that I want to talk to plays on the server anymore. I think reasonably special about the land. It's just territory. It's not like, you know, it's not like anyone's gonna live in the fucking region after we're gone, because like they're all leaving. So, I mean, congrats, Ashai, you won the war, I guess. Like, I don't know. But we're not surrendering. I'm not making an announcement that we're surrendering. They can war the claims if they want. They can contact me via Discord if they need to.
So, but I guess I think it would just make it easier for everyone involved if you just kind of said, "Fuck it, territory is the AWE's gone," or like even if you don't want to keep the AWE at this point, it just might be easier to say fuck
Yeah,
it and dissolve
but
the whole
it
thing.
wastes people's time if I just say that we're disputing everything and then I just dip for a month, because you can't stop the dispute.
Well, not disputing anything. I mean, literally just dissolving the nation. Like,
Yeah, but why? What would we dissolve it into? The AWE as a nation has existed since like 2 months into Eldam's existence up until right now. Like, it's been the most, like, physically the most long-standing non-merger nation for its
isn't it?
entire existence. Yeah, well,
Isn't
it
it
was okay. Yeah, it was a merger 2.5 years ago. Like,
for most of its history? It has been.
like it's been the most, like, without, what I mean is it hasn't merged with things since then. Like, it's just existed as the AWE. It's not had name changes or been a province or been a vassal of any certain nation or anything like that. Like, you know, for that amount of time, it's just relied upon its own 2 feet and marched forward for years on end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty much what happened with Rome. Empires fall, and shit happens. I guess it's unfortunate in a lot of cases, but I think I think time.
You can say it's unfortunate all you want, but you were involved in the rebellion, so it can't
No, I
be.
totally was. Listen, I don't like, but I'm saying I'm saying it's unfortunate that people were kind of hating on, like, I don't like the AWE, not because of the people that are in it, but because of a lot of the shit that, like, it did, like, as a nation. I'm not talking about, I don't hate you. Literally, pretty much every single interaction I've had with you has been pleasant. I think you're a nice guy. I don't like the AWE.
Cool.
I am, like, I don't know, like from what I've heard, from what I've read up on their history, they've been kind of warmongery and weird, just kind of expansionist people. That it's not. I don't know, but I just, it is unfortunate because
it can't be unfortunate because you supported it. It can't be both sad and good. Like,
but
that's not how things happen.
I think it can be both sad and good. I mean, look at Rome. Rome was fucking crazy. They were territorialists, or they were expansionist warmongers, but they were, and that their government generally sucked for the most part. But we look back on Rome's collapse with a bit of sadness, and I think that's how it's going to be with the AWE. I think a lot of history is going to be lost.
But
I think a lot.
in this scenario, you'd be like one of the barbarians that rebelled, like at the end, or one of the like rogue generals, or like well, I guess you'd be an officer in one of the armies of the rogue generals, I guess. Like,
That's exactly what's happening. This is
you'd be crying about the fact that the country that you're killing is collapsing, or like one of Caesar's assassins crying whilst he's stabbing them. Like that's like the mentality we're having here. Like
so.
you can't be that.
I suppose I should clarify. I'm not sad to see the AWE go. I am sad that a lot of history is going to be. I am sad that a lot of history is going to be lost. I'm sad that a lot of people are quitting the server. I feel bad for the citizens of the AWE who were not involved in the government and have to deal with all this shit that's going on. I'm sad that I'm kind of weirded out by the fact that people are being like assholes about it, but it's looking at this from a historical standpoint because Eldom goes so fast because Stoneworks history happens like countries collapse in a day because of how fast that happens. I think what you said about like people regretting the collapse of the AWE, I think that's definitely going to happen soon. But I don't think I'm going to feel sad that the AWE is gone. But I am. It's hard to explain. I get what you're saying about me being like playing a direct part in the AWE's collapse, but it's just I don't know. I do wish it could have happened in a slightly different way. I guess I wish the AWE stayed and
bought it out.
Changed. I wish it just changed the way that they did stuff. That's what I would have preferred.
Well, anyone in Sarakan, Sondor, anywhere else always had the option of DMing any of the High Council, opening an internal affairs ticket, opening a foreign affairs ticket, or any sort of contact with anyone via general or in like citizen only chats that would have been publicly available for the entire duration of their existence within the nation. Any suggestions are always taken. I think we have a channel in there. There was a send issues channel at one point. I don't know if that got deleted. It may have been deleted more recently because the country's gone. But yeah, you could have contacted any sort of imperial council or high council or the emperors, the senate, any of your mayors, or anyone else you believe to have any sort of relevance within the government to try and get anything you wanted changed.
I guess, but to be fair, like the whole shitstorm started a week and a half after I joined, so I couldn't have done any of that.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't know.
I don't know. It's there are to me there are positive things about the AWE's collapse and there are negative things, but I think we'll have to see what happens.
You'll have to wait. It's just going to be the case that you guys form your smaller nations. You're not going to be able to do anything geopolitically because you're too small. And honestly, the nations of Sondor and the nation of Sarakan do not have the strength to push themselves upon anyone else. So they're going to sit there and they're going to be pretty neutral in most conflicts. You're probably going to have quite a few MDPs and NAPs signed with people. NAPs are just a sign of weakness, by the way. Don't sign any of them if you ever get into power.
I disagree. I think non-aggression pacts are not necessarily a sign of weakness. I think non-aggression pacts can be a sign of not necessarily strength, but a sign of like moral conviction. Like if you sign a non-aggression pact, it means that you. I don't know.
We still have an MDP with the Shy at the moment, so I mean, just take that as you will, I guess. But well, I mean, I'd assume we still have an MDP with the Shy because I don't think Cato deletes any previous treaties that we'd have, but I guess no one checked. So most nations are not going to give a fuck about the NAP you signed with them that NAP does not give them any benefit, so there's no need to follow it at all. The only thing it does is prevent smaller nations from attacking bigger nations, but if you're a big nation and you have the people to defend yourself, you shouldn't be worried about the smaller nation in the first place. The only reason you should sign an NAP is if you're worried about a country going to war you. Like, and it's not like a way of preventing that country warring you. It's a way of proving yourself right. If they are going to war you, they're not going to sign that NAP with you, at which point you need to figure out what you're going to do to prevent them warring you or how you're going to react when they do it. Like, that's the only reason you'd ever sign an NAP, and it's a tactical move. It's not a geopolitical move. Like, it's more war based than anything. MDPs are more useful, although most people aren't going to follow them. You look at the AWE, like a lot of our MDP partners, vassals, other allied states didn't help us in this war. It's not uncommon to see people just completely ignore your treaty as soon as you're in a place of crisis. Now, generally, what's going to happen with these countries, the countries that like appear as a result of like Sarikhan and like Sondor and the others, they're going to be neutral in most conflicts. You're going to not have a big military. A lot of your people are going to choose formally not to involve themselves in wars, and you're going to become a target. Not necessarily a target for people who don't like you, but just a target to be bullied in the future. Like, so if you're going to stay alive, go to wars. Doesn't matter if you're bad. Just ask for gear and pull up if you can, and learn to pot. Like, that's all you need to do. Like, and that's about it. I don't know.
So, I guess
like, I saw your census. I think it was like what, 82% or something like that said that they wouldn't want to be involved in the military. Like, that's terrible. That's like insane. If 82% of the AWE didn't want to go to wars, we'd have, I mean, how many did we get on census? Like 80? We'd have what? 14 people? Like, can you imagine a war where 14 people show up? Like,
I mean,
the
that's pretty
UN
much what
with
happened.
Steigenberg, yeah. Like, you know, you don't want to get Steigenberg. You don't want to, like, get fucked in a way that ends with your country dying. You want to survive long term. So you need at least, like, a nation the size of Sarikhan. Try and aim for 20 people as mercenaries, not as, like, soldiers that pull up if the country gets warred. That's not good.
Yeah. So I think I know we said earlier we agreed to do a Q&A segment. Are you still up for that?
Yeah, I don't mind.
All right, cool. So yeah, we're gonna start the Q&A segment now. If you're in the audience and you have a question for Rage, raise your hand and I will get to you. All right, the founder has a question. I will invite you I'll invite you to speak. You can, welcome.
Good afternoon, Rage.
Hello.
I have like a question for you regarding like the old agreements we had in the past. If things were different in December 2022, would you have supported the Ashigaru rebellion? This is just out of curiosity and closure for myself.
I never formally went against the Ashigaru rebellion. I and Manophobia are okay in terms of friendship. I don't think I've ever considered them an enemy. We stayed out of most of those conflicts because Ashai was in the war. If it was against any other target, I wouldn't have cared very much about it, really. I don't think there's a way that would have ended with you, unless you had a crystal ball and could tell me, like, oh, a shy is going to war deck you on this date in this time if you do exactly these things, then maybe I'd swap my opinion around. But in most cases, like, that would have resulted in the AW getting decked earlier. You just don't have the strength, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the as far as most people see it, the Ashigari Shogunate, and it's like, it's just you. I don't think anyone else exists there. But I mean, I can stand corrected if that's not true. Well, I mean, I can't. I'm not gonna care. But like, generally, you need friends. You need people who would support you. You don't need to shit on people in ENAT ever. That's not useful. Like, but yeah.
All right.
So to answer your
Cool.
question, no.
Thank you for answering, at least.
All right. Thank you very much, Founder. I'm gonna send you back now. Okay. Sheep, you have a question for Rage? I will bring you up here. It's going.
Hello, Rage.
Hello.
This is just for self-assurance, just like the other guy. What's your opinion on the current state of the Surikhan armed forces?
I have fought against the Sarukhan armed forces in kit PvP previously. I think it's the same group of people, broadly speaking, that led the Southern Stars forces. And I don't think it's improved since that, like, time period. A lot of you guys are okay. When it comes to, like, PvP, there was one of the people, although I forget their name, who were better at it, and we actually had to, like, try against them.
Ponce?
No. It was some other dude. I don't remember exactly.
Mochi?
They were on your... No.
Oh,
I know Damp Coma and Sekhmet, they're both okay. A lot of the Kithnos people that came with us to wars and stuff prior to the rebellion, they were okay at the battles. But they're not going to carry you in terms of military power. You need, like, form a group of people, 15, 20 people who are willing to go to wars. Take those people to a war and offer them 25k per person plus gear. Like, that's more than enough money for some rando ass player who's never been to a war. And then do it on Rathnir if possible, so that way all the gear that you guys get, it doesn't go to some rando, like, basement. It goes to a private armory that you guys can slowly form. And over time, just use that ability to, like, reproduce numbers and, you know, throw people into ganks when you need to slowly build up an armory and build up a reputation. People like other guy, Colonel Cheese, other people like that from the AWE were complete nobodies when I brought them to Bardonia in November last year, I guess. But you look at them now and they, like, get credited with, like, being some of the few people that won battles for people in previous wars. Like, oh, such and such a person got so many kills, or such and such a person prevented an entire area from being capped in a war. Like, those are the things people care about. They don't care if you're a quick drop anymore.
yeah. And also, the Surikhan armed forces, like, are, like, kind of, like, brand new. So, like, that might be the issue. That, like, they don't have much war experience.
You guys aren't brand new. You're the same group of people that have existed for ages. The problem is that you don't do the training, you don't do it constantly, and you don't go to actual wars. Like,
we also don't have a big army.
Well, that's true. Like, if you look at your census in 2 months' time and it still says 80% of people don't want to go to wars, then you're, like, you didn't do something right. 2 months, like right now. Because if you keep going the way you are, you're going to become a target for people. You're going to get bullied in the future, and you're just going to lose your country, or it's going to secede into a billion pieces, and it's going to die.
Not to be fair, I will explain that census was taken before the whole Clone War thing started. So a lot of that, like when everyone saw the AWE and everyone kind of like jumped on the train and sort of were like, yeah.
Yeah, but this isn't a war for independence, and a war just for going to war's sake is different.
Yeah,
if you're not a group of people that go to wars very often, and you then get attacked, your country's gonna fall because you're not prepared. You don't know the meta. Like say right now, if you guys got attacked, maybe you have a bit of an idea, copying other people's defenses, copying what you've seen recently, you might be able to build an okay war fort to defend. You might have to spend a bunch of money to defend yourselves, but sure, you might get it done. Like if, say, in 3 months' time, when the war meta changes, or in fact tomorrow when the war meta changes late Sunday, like you guys won't have a fucking clue what to do because there's literally no plan. Like no one in Sarikhan at the moment, if they're left to their own devices, will be able to come up with an effective war fort designed to defend themselves. And that's not their fault. They shouldn't know based upon like 30 minutes in a war on Minecraft whether this is defensive or not. The problem is that if in 3 weeks' time from now, when the war meta changes tomorrow, 3 weeks from then, you don't know what the new meta is, you're back to square one and you're paying a lot more money to try and get your shit defended. And you might not like how that looks in the end. Like, it happened with Alechia. Like, their country is now gone. Like, well, it's coming back. For real. They're not going to do anything with that.
All right. We're thank you, Sheep.
No problem.
Send you back to the audience there. Anyone else have a question? Hungry, Fuchs, Igzo, Lukey. Anyone? Give you. Seems not
like it.
Yeah. So I guess we will conclude this interview here. Rage, it was great having you. It was good finally like actually talking to you outside of DMs. Yeah. I guess I am. Igzo, ask him yourself. No. Igzo said in general to ask you to unban him from the AWE Discord.
No.
Okay.
I don't know who you are or why you got banned. But no, I'm not unbanning you. Maybe I'll check.
He's a rebel. Just like posting Saracon stuff in the AWE Discord.
Ban reason was you're an alt account of some sort. I think you got automatically banned. But no.
Yeah. And the AWE's probably not long for this world anyway, so it's not gonna matter. But regardless, it was good having you. Thank you for being here. And I am genuinely sorry to see you go. You seem like a nice guy.
Well, you're gonna have to deal with the rest of them now, so
yeah.
I mean, good luck in the future, I guess, but I don't think there's much to be had, so
yeah, oh well.
Bye.
Have yourself a good one. Thank you all for listening. The video recording is going to be uploaded to YouTube in probably less than a week. And yeah, thank you all for listening live. Appreciate it. This is the biggest live audience we've had. Considering I think the most we've had was 2 people for the copper interview. So yeah. Have yourselves a lovely day, night, whatever time it is. And
Is that it? Do we finish now or?
yeah, we are. Have a good one, man.
Bye.